everybody. Hey, Toya. How are you? Hey, guys. Welcome. It is hot here in Dallas. Hey, Ashley. How are you, darling? Hey, Kenya. It is hot here in Dallas. It's like I had the heat on. I don't know if it was earlier this week or last week, but I had the heat on, turned the heat off, and just, was kind of riding it out. There's some great times in Dallas where you can kind of just ride it out without having the heat on and without having the air on. And then Dallas just did this turnabout. Hey, Alonzo, how are you? Dallas just did this turnabout, and it was like 90 degrees here. Yeah, welcome to Dallas. Hey, Raquel. And I forgot to turn the air back on, and so I just realized, I'm like, it's hot. And so, hey, Todd. And so I turned the air back on, but it has not like really kicked in yet. And so I'm kind of waiting. So if you see a sheen, I'm not glistening. I am sweating. Hey, D. Curtis Randall, how are you? So I thought it was interesting, and I really hadn't popped on today. I was on earlier, and we talked about some good stuff. I had Kenya Kelly on, and we talked about all of the things. Thank you for the hearts, you guys. We talked about all the things that you need to have on your website in order to be, oh, is it going to be hot? Oh, gosh. It's November. We talked about all the things, Kenya and I, we talked about all the things, hey, Carolyn, that you need to be successful with your website. So if you did not get a chance to see that, it was like a phenomenal broadcast. Kenya gave a lot of good information. It was a great dialogue. So you can just scroll down on my page and check that out. But I was doing some reading earlier, and I ran across this really good article. It was published a long time ago, and I'm kind of putting my own spin on it. But I think one of the things that a lot of us struggle with, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I would love to have some conversation about this. But one of the things a lot of us struggle with is really being understood. And thank you, Carolyn. I have two children. I have one that's going to be 16 this weekend. Oh my gosh. And I think that, even at that age, but even as adults, I think that we just have a lot of trouble when we don't feel understood. And so I was reading this article because I think our first response when we don't feel, or when we're talking to somebody and they're trying to explain how they feel, we say we understand. It's like they'll tell you, oh, it's like, it's been a depressing month for me, the job, I'm getting harassed, and my relationship isn't right, my kids are, rebelling, and we're like, oh, we understand. And a lot of times we really don't understand. Like, there's things that we just have not, had the experience of. And I think that when you say that you understand, you're kind of minimizing the way that the other person feels. And I know I can get really kind of irritated. Hey, Mary, when I'm explaining like how I feel about something and it's like my unique experience. Hey, Luana, how are you? You're welcome, Luana. Chi-Town in the house. I love Chicago. And I can get kind of irritated because even though some people may have similar experiences, you really don't know like exactly how the other person feels. And so even like years ago, I really started to be very conscious of and really, try to stop saying that I understand when somebody would tell me like how they're feeling and what place they're in. And let me know if this like irritates you too. Like if you're sharing something, that's very hurtful or emotional or sad or, whatever, and somebody just automatically says, oh, I understand. And you really know that they don't have any clue. It's like, I have never experienced a child dying. I've never experienced, a spouse dying. I've never experienced a lot. And so those emotions, you don't really understand. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what it's like to lose a child because it's never happened. And even if it has happened, you really have not had that exact unique response. So I was reading these articles the other day, and like I said, they were published a while ago, but they kind of made sense. Gary, this is laziness at its finest. But thank you. This is because I don't want to comb my hair, but I appreciate it. Hey, Arnold. It went in and hey, big Noop. Hey, big Noop. See, I have to I don't wear my glasses on camera because it gets, you get the glare, you can't really see your eyes. So if I can't read your name, that's why. Hey, LaTanya, how are you? So the braids started in the summer, and it was only supposed to be like for a month, and we're in November. So that's how lazy I've gotten with my hair. Hey, Rodolfo. And so what I discovered is that what really works, and I kind of use this sometimes to diffuse my children when they're like upset about something, is you say these 3 words, and people are like, they feel heard, but they don't feel like you're trying to minimize their experience. So, and that's what we really all want at the end of the day. I think we all just want to be heard. I think that's like extremely important. And no matter, where you are, what you're doing, I mean, you don't want to Carnival Cruise fever rising. Well, I did get it because I got it in the month of June, and it was like a really busy travel month. And yes, I was like on several islands. Well, not several, but I was on like 3 islands. Several sounds better. And so I really I didn't want to fool. Like, I have a ton of hair, and it's natural. And so, when water hits it, it's an explosion. So I got the braids to try to make that easy, and it got a little too easy for me, so I haven't let it go. But this is the last time that I'm going to have it braided. So I'm trying to enjoy it while it lasts, and then it'll be back to the thing. But anyway, but at the end of the day, Team Natural, absolutely. I love it. And it's Shanika. I don't know. And I'm going to get back to the 3 words in a minute, but we're going to talk about natural hair for just a second. So Shanika, I don't know if it's like your experience, but I love my hair. I love it natural. I think it's got a great curl pattern, but I honestly don't know what to do with it. Hey there. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Doka? Is your last name Doka? I really don't know what to do with it. And because I think that I didn't do like a big chop. So for those of you who don't have natural hair, so the big chop is where, you may grow it out a little bit, but then eventually you just cut it all off so that your natural hair and your relaxed hair are not, both on your head at the same time. And I never did that. So I never really learned how to take care of my natural hair. I never learned what products to use. I never learned any of that. And I'm not a big hair person. I don't know why I have so much hair on my head, but I'm not a big hair person. And so and I don't know why I'm telling you guys all this. So I never really learned what to do with it. So I love it. So we have this love-hate relationship. I love it, but I have no idea what to do with it. So it just torments me at times. Hey, Leon. So anyway, so back to the 3 words. So I think that we just all really want to be understood. We want to be heard. Well, not understood. We want to be heard. And we want to feel like people support us, but that they're not minimizing our experience. And so the 3 words, can anybody guess what they are? Hey Pam, how are you? I'm glad you love your natural hair. I'll post a picture one day. Hey William, oh thank you. I'll post a picture one day. I posted a picture and I had this huge afro. It's I had we were on summer vacation. Thank you, Elaine. We were on summer vacation and we had gone to some water park, and I had started out one way and then the water hit it and I was another way. And I posted a picture and Aunt J. Anthony Brown said I look like Pam Grier because I had this huge afro. Hey Michael, hey DJ Smooth, thank you guys for checking in. And so anyway, so can anybody guess what the 3 words are? Give me a cookie. No, those aren't the 3 words. Elaine, but that's good because that could calm some stuff down too. No, it's not I love you, but that's good too. I'm sure people that, when they want to be heard, they want to know that people love. You just ordered what book, Carolyn? People want to know that they're heard, but the 3 words are, and it sounds so simple, but it works so well. Hey, Vincent, how are you? Thank you for the flowers. It sounds so simple. Food, shelter, and clothing. No, that's good though. That's good. The words are, I got it. Those are the 3 words. I got it. So somebody comes to you, hey, how are you? Somebody comes to you and, they are upset. They are fuming. Hey, Rocky, how are you? They are fuming. No, Tracy, but that's the same thing. I hear you and I got it. I think that's the same thing. Oh, Carolyn, great. I am so proud of you for taking that step. So we definitely have to talk. So I can make sure that you're on the right track because I got to take special care of you. Yeah. So people, I got you. I got it. I got it. I hear you. I think that's probably the same thing. Marion draws Mike. That's it. Those are the 3 words. Can you believe it? So many of us, like, you know, we get all confused about like what to say. And a lot of times people want to just know, I got it, that they have been heard, you have received it. And I think for men, especially when they're like listening to their girlfriends or their wives, Raquel, it works beautifully. It works so beautifully. But I think especially this is good for men because I think that men sometimes gets confused. My 16-year-old too, but I can't say it too loud because I'll get mad. But mine too, Raquel. And so, but I think for men, I think because they really want to do something. I'd rather hear I brought taking. That's good, Elaine. But I think men like really want to do something. And so when, you know, your significant other, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, or, you know, that we're upset about something and we share that information, you guys immediately want to go into action. And a lot of times we don't want you to do anything. All we want you to say is, I got it. That's it. That's it. Really, honestly, that's it. Not just sometimes, a lot of the times. And so it's just so good to know. And I am so good at just saying those 3 words. I got it. I got it. So I just thought I would share that. I just feel like, I don't know if I feel like we haven't had enough connection today. But I just thought I would pop on and share that. It has really worked wonders in my parent-child relationship and my other relationships. And I know when people have said it to me that it really has like, oh, okay, you know, they got it. So it's just very simple. It's reassuring for others. That was good. No, I think that it is reassuring. And like I said, I mean, I have tested this out. Elaine, for you, I will bring tequila. I am not... I've seen Tupac, no, Mary. That's not it. But if you have seen Tupac, then I think that there's some other things we need to discuss. That's simple. Yeah, listen, man up and own it. I got it. I get it. I got it. But it's not even about manning up. Thank you, William. Thank you guys for repeating this. I feel like we all have accomplished something together. It's not even about manning up necessarily. Hey, Lorna, thanks so much for tuning in. It's not necessarily about manning up because it might not even have anything to do with you. A lot of times it's just, you know, when we're telling men stuff, so it could be like we just had a horrible day at work, or, you know, the neighbor is irritating us, or, you know, men are just natural fixers. So I think that no matter what it is, they really want to be able to solve the problem. They really want to step in and, you know, and really kind of fix it. And a lot of Okay, I'm back. I had to, my phone died. I had to switch phones. So I'll wait for you guys to join and I'm going to end this. I'm going to wrap this up really quickly. You know what? Just because it always asks me to tag my sister, I'm going to tag her. Usually I don't tag her. Okay, thanks for coming back. So my phone died, so I had to switch really quickly. And so all I was saying is, I was talking to Ephraim. So Ephraim was talking about manning up and just saying, you know, I got it. But sometimes it's not about manning up because it really doesn't have anything to do with you. Sometimes it's just, thanks TJ Smooth for coming back. Sometimes, like I said, it's just about us wanting to be heard, but not necessarily it being fixed. And I think that there's like a fine line there. So like I said, sometimes it's just more about us wanting to be heard. And I think that's on any level. I think that's for kids. I think that's for, you know, relationships, friendships, you know, spouses. I think that's for anything. And so those 3 words really do work magic. All you have to do is say, I got it. I got it. We're cool. And that's it. Really, that's it. And so anyway, so I just popped on. I didn't want to end and not like end. Hey, Mike, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. And so this is like the official end to this video, and I'm going to go do something productive with my life. But like I said, I don't know why I feel like we just have not had a connection today. And I think I've been on video twice with you guys today. I'm not sure. But we'll see. But anyway, what's going on? You got it, Michelle? Perfect. Because I am struggling. So thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Michelle. I feel heard. I feel understood. I feel supported. I feel warm hugs. Thank you, Sean. guys are awesome. You'll listen to the first one, but those are the words. I got it. Hey, Mr. Casey, how are you? It's good for you to pop on. Thank you. So anyway, Anna, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Anyway, I'm out of here unless somebody else has something to want to talk about. Does anybody want to pop on screen with me and have a conversation? I would love it. All you have to do is ask me to invite you in, and I will invite you. I will be a part of it. Is that a serious question, Elaine? If you ever want jewelry, who says no to that? Hey, Tracy. Tell me about your jewelry thing. What is it? What is the line? Oh, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. You guys are so sweet to me. I want to know about your jewelry line, Elaine. Okay, so somebody has to say they want to be invited in. I don't know how to, micro. Oh, really? Oh, awesome. Do you have a website? What's your website? And I'll go check it out. Jewelry, yes. Thank you, Chantel. Who says no to jewelry? Like, honestly? And I'm not a big, and quite frankly, I'm not a big jewelry person. So I have a bracelet on. I have like earrings on. I don't often wear necklaces because I feel like they're choking me, but I do have them. And I wear rings, but like when I'm just at home, like sitting around talking to you guys on Facebook, I don't wear a lot of jewelry because it just feels confining to me. But I think we all like jewelry. Chantel agrees. We all like jewelry. So yeah, definitely share it so I can check it out and support you if I can. I would appreciate that. I like supporting people. Thank you for the thumbs ups. Thumbs ups. They are currently for viewing on my page. In the photos section, you will send me a link. Okay, great. Awesome. See how easy that was? Yeah, you know what? And I don't have like a particularly big neck, but it just really feels like it feels constraining. But I have to be really comfortable when I'm at home. It's like this whole thing. And it's really annoying. Like if you have to, like if I have a meeting with a client like at 11 and I have like maybe an hour between the next thing, because like I will come home and I will totally change. Like I will totally change knowing that I have to, get dressed again to go back out. But when I'm at home, like I want to wear like a t-shirt and yoga pants, man. That's it. Well, I appreciate you. Well, that's not it, but you know what I'm saying? I just have to be comfortable. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. You love your arm candy better. Does that mean you're man? What is your arm candy? I'm confused. What is your arm candy? Enlighten me on that before I leave, because I really want to know. It's like I always thought arm candy was like the good-looking person that, was on your arm, but maybe I'm wrong. I got them at the beauty supply place. I have bracelets. Oh yeah, I love bracelets. I love charm bracelets. Charm bracelets are like my favorite, but I have a lot of bracelets. And I have some necklaces, but people are always telling me that I need to wear more necklaces, and I do wear them. I just don't wear them a lot at home. So you won't see them on, like you won't see me with them on when I'm on Facebook Live, because I'm usually at home, so I don't have them on. So anyway. All right, I think we've had enough small talk. I think we've learned a lot about me and my habits. But just in closing, like I said, I really want you guys just to get the I got it thing. Like, get it? Get the I got it thing. So whenever anybody comes to you and they have an issue, just realize that they may not necessarily want you to solve a problem. They just want to feel understood. So just say, I got it. No, I am not a native Chicagoan. I was in Chicago for 10 years, and I moved, it's like a really funny story. I was working in Boston. This is like my life story. So I was working in Boston. Hey, Frank. I was working in Boston at a little radio station there, and I hated it. I did not like Boston. No offense to anybody that's from Boston, but I did not take to it. And so I was there for a year. And GCI, which is a station in Chicago, is where I really wanted to be. I would write, I would send letters, like, looking for a job. I would send air check, and air checks are what you sound like on the air. So you kind of take snippets of you on the radio, what you sound like, and you send that. Hey, Gary, good evening to you. And so I did that for a year because I didn't want to be in Boston. I knew I wanted to be in Chicago, but every time I would send them something, they would send it back. And this is still where you actually like mailed the letter, like you didn't send an email. And so they would send it, they would respond saying they had no openings, yada, yada, yada. And so I was leaving Boston and I was on my way to Jacksonville. Hey, Carl, I was on my way to Jacksonville for a job. I had accepted a job there. My sister lived in the Chicago area, and I had gone to school there. So I was going to stop by and see my sister and hang out for a little bit before I went to Jacksonville. And so, yeah, it was crazy. And I don't know if you saw my post today, but Crazy and I are coming back, believe it or not. It's been a decade since we've been on the air together, but we have worked something out, and we're going to be back. I don't know if that makes me crazy too, but yeah, so it ought to be interesting. But anyway, so while I was here, I was like, let me just go up to the station. Let me just, I never met anybody from there. I'd never been to the station even when I lived here, but I was here and, they had already, I went to Howard University in DC first. And then when I went back to school, because I got a degree in education, so I was like a teacher, and then I went back to school for journalism, and I went to the College of St. Francis, which is the University of St. Francis now, in Joliet, Illinois. So my sister lived in Joliet, so I wanted to go to a school near her, and I lived with her because she had 3 small babies, and I helped her take care of her babies and went to school. And so then, so I decided I was just going to go up to GCI. I didn't make an appointment. I just went up there, and this is a true story. I just went up there, and Elroy Smith was the program director, and Jay Allen was the assistant program director. And I went up there, and Elroy was at lunch, and so Jay said, "Come on in." And their offices were like right next. So like Jay's office was here, Elroy's office was here, and so Jay came out to reception, and Jay actually is the program director still in Chicago at Soul 106.3. And Elroy now is a program director in San Francisco. And this is a lot of Chicago radio history. And Tony Schofield, who used to do the show with Howard and I, is working for Elroy in San Francisco. But anyway, so I went up to the station, and this is a great story of like preparation, opportunity when it collides, that kind of thing. And so I went up to the station, and Jay was there. So Jay said, "Come on back." We talked for a little bit. I kind of told him who I was. I'll tell you how I got with Tom. And so I have nothing to do. And so Jay told me to come back, and so we talked, and then Elroy came in, and I was telling Elroy, I was like, I've been trying to get in touch with you guys. I've been sending my air check, and I've always getting this response. And Elroy was like, "I have no idea who you are." See, like I had assumed, and people, I think you take it personally. Like when you send a resume and you get a no, you assume that it's like this personal thing, like people just don't like you. And they had never even heard of me, and I had been feeling some kind of way. And so luckily I had my air check with me, and Elroy was like, "Well, let's listen." And so we popped it in, and Elroy didn't say a word during the entire thing. I am a member of NABGA, yes. Elroy didn't say a word the entire time. And then after that, he said, "You're hired." He hired me on the spot. He didn't even have a job. Elroy didn't even have a job for me. He just hired me. And so, and history, such as it is, got made. And so I actually had to call Jacksonville and tell them I wasn't coming, because I had just gotten hired at WGCI, and I was there probably maybe for about 6 months. And I was doing some overnights, I was doing some weekends, I was kind of hanging out, and then I was doing traffic, and I've never ever told this story. V103 was kind of looking at me, and so I went to Elroy, and I was like, "Look, we gotta make a decision." I was like, I gotta have some full-time work, or I'm gonna have to bounce. And unfortunately, in radio, unfortunately, to get a job, obviously somebody, has to lose a job. And Howard had just started, and there was someone on with him already. It was him, Arnez J, and Miss Peaches. And it just wasn't quite working out. She wasn't just like quite the right fit. And Elroy was like, "Okay, done deal." And I took over for Miss Peaches with Howard. And 10 years later, It was, we rocked it out for 10 years. #1 station, #1 morning show. It was a great experience. Then they decided to make a change. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but they actually printed it in the paper that they were bringing Steve Harvey in to take over for mornings on GCI, and we had no clue. And we read it in the newspaper. And they, of course they're going to tell you it's not true because they don't want you to, they don't want you to rebel and say anything bad on the radio. And then a week later they made the change. But interestingly enough, Tom had been looking at me for a while. Tom had been looking at me for a while. And they would kind of reach out and, but I loved what I was doing. They would kind of reach out and, see what was going on. And, I'd always, like, I'm good. Don't worry about it. I'm good. And so then they made the change, and I had a little boy who was just about to start kindergarten. That's the one that's about to turn 16. And I had a little boy, that was in preschool. And so I thought it would be a great time to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom. And that didn't last long. You went to Webster Groves High School? Really? Oh, wow. That's where I went. That's where I graduated from. Webster Groves in Webster Groves, Missouri. It's a St. Louis suburb. I don't even want to ask what year. Because I'm not going to tell you what year I graduated, but I did graduate from Webster. And so Tom finally, I was at home with these babies for 6 months, because in radio, normally you have a non-compete clause. And so sometimes even if they let you go, you've got to sit out for a while, so that, and they'll pay you, but you have to sit out. And so mine was about 6 months, I think. And almost to the day that the 6 months was up, Tom called. He's like, "Are you ready now?" And I'm like, "I'm ready." And so that's how I ended up in Dallas, where I am now. And I was with Tom for 8 years. Just the time went by so fast. Hi, Freddie. So I have a lot of books, Mike. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but I have Easier Said Than Done, which is a novel, and it's on Amazon. And then I have 3 books called Shift On, and Shift Happens, and it's all about transformation in life and how you have to kind of change. And I feature different stories in those books, but everything I've written is on Amazon. So yeah, if you Google me on Amazon, stuff will pop up. So anyway, so that's how I got to Tom. And then, after 8 years, I decided that I wanted to be at home with my children, and I wanted to spend time with them because my oldest one started high school, and I realized how much time I had devoted to my career, and I wanted to spend time with them. And so that's why I resigned from Tom. But a year later, I am really missing radio. I do a segment on Friday, and that's kind of kept me in it, but I really miss radio. And so I'm glad for some new opportunities that have presented themselves, and 2018 is going to be phenomenal. I have done a lot. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I have done a lot. But I think it's interesting. I think we all have done a lot. I think that it's when you're in it. Hey, Leonard, when you're in it, you don't really realize. And then when somebody reads your bio or you talk about it and somebody's like, "Wow, you've done so much." I really have. Frank, I did work in television. I started out in television. I have thought about doing my own podcast. But I've always been part of a team. So, I've always done mornings. I've always been a part of a team, and I really do I did middays a little bit when I was on GCI. I would fill in and that kind of stuff. And I really don't enjoy it as much as I do as, being a part of a team, because, you really get different energy. You get that conversation. I really do love it. So, I do a lot of interviews, on my Facebook Live, and I do, interviews for different other platforms. So I like that part of it too. I like the interviewing. But just to do my own podcast with just me, I don't know if I really would enjoy my company all that much. So I really do like being part of a team. But to answer the television question, I did start out in television. I started out doing sports. Actually, I did sports in St. Louis. I was at KMOX, which is a radio station. And then I was at the CBS affiliate in St. Louis. And then I did a brief stint at ESPN. before I decided I didn't want to do television. I didn't think that and I don't want to hear, and I don't want to hear any comments when I say this. I don't want anybody to say anything other than I got it. Okay? Everybody agree? No comments. So I didn't think that I really had a face for TV. And I felt more comfortable in radio. And I didn't like that that in television it's just such a visual medium, which is why it's so funny that I do all these Facebook Lives now, but it's just such a visual. And even when that's good, Elaine, keep your mouth shut. And even when I would do like a heavy story, because I did do some regular news too. I didn't do just sports, but I did some regular news. And I remember there was a plane crash outside of, it was a small plane, but it was a plane crash outside of New York. And there were some people affected that lived in St. Louis, and I had to go to the house and get a story. And I just could not understand like how somebody could send me to somebody's house when they were grieving and try to get a comment. It blew me away. And then the other part of it was, you could do this story. Like I could report on people dying. I could report on like murder and all this kind of stuff. And people would be more upset about like the shoes that I was wearing or more excited about the dress I had on. It was just really crazy to me. It really was insane. And so I really just, television really was not a good fit for me. I do a lot more television now than I did then, but it was really a brief period. And then sports just wasn't a good fit. I love sports and I played a lot of sports, but really to be a good sports reporter, sideline reporter, anchor, that kind of thing, you have to really know sports. And so I'm not sure if you guys know who Trey Wingo is, but he's national, and I think he's with MSNBC, but he's with something. But I interned under Trey, and I played everything. I played basketball, I played volleyball, I played softball. I went to Howard on a basketball scholarship, but I had to give it up because I also had an academic scholarship, and my grades had to be so high to keep the academic scholarship, and it was more than the basketball. So I had to give basketball up because it just took too much time away from my studies. Get a good coach for what? To learn about sports? No, it's not really something that you can pick up. I mean, it's like people I would talk to Trey, for example, and Malcolm Briggs was in the sports there in St. Louis when I was there. I don't look like a jock, really? Oh my gosh, I was such a tomboy. I still am to a certain degree. No, I've never had any thoughts. Let me tell you, my dad was a politician. He was mayor of the city that we grew up in, and alderman for a really long time. And I really respect the process. But I also know how involved you have to be and what commitment it is. And no, I've never considered it. I worked with a lot of politicians, but I've never considered running for office. No, I don't have it in me. I mean, I think you have to be a politician on a lot of levels, and so I think I had to play enough politics, like in working, that I really don't want to play on that level. But I really admire them. I appreciate them, and I think it takes, like I said, such a level of dedication and service, and I think that I'm supposed to serve in other ways. So. No, I see, Brian. I'm not sure if you're being sexist or not. So I will just say okay to that. But it's not about understanding. It's about, this is what I was going to explain earlier, but I went on to something else because I got like ADD when I have conversation. Yeah, Elaine, that wasn't fun at all. Going into locker rooms when you're like 23, it was not fun. It's not about understanding, because I did play-by-play for, women's college basketball, and I did color so I understood the sports, and I understood it, but it's about knowing, how many home runs Babe Ruth had in 1923. I mean, these guys grew up studying sports and studying statistics, and they really had knowledge that you just can't grasp if you don't grow up really like learning it and retaining it. I mean, it was just amazing to me. But that's not really the reason I stopped sports. I mean, I really stopped sports because I didn't like going into the locker rooms. And I didn't like doing that kind of stuff. So it really, it was more than just the sports. It really was television. I mean, it just wasn't a good fit. And I think that you have to figure out like what fits, like what really works for you. And I just fell in love with radio. I mean, that's what worked for me. And so, sports served me well, in my childhood, in my, college years, and even, early on in my career. But it wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my professional life. It just wasn't. But thank you, Brian. Thanks for offering to get me up to speed, but I'm good. I'm good. So anyway, you guys, that is like my life story. I think that we've covered everything. So I am going to sign off, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Yeah, I love radio too. Radio has been awesome to me, and not only just professionally, but personally. So. Okay, so this is the thing, Mike. I don't know. I think that Boston is a really segregated, and I can only speak for when I was there. I've not been to Boston and spent any time there that I can really speak. But Boston is a very segregated city, and it's not just segregated racially, even though there is that. So Boston is really a college town, and Boston is really an arts town. And so if you are not involved in like the arts and you are not involved in college, then you really have to work to fit in. And so I wasn't in the arts, I was out of college, and I wasn't from there. And so it really was hard for me to fit in. I didn't have any family there, didn't have any friends. I knew nobody when I went to Boston. And so it really was a hard fit. But if she's going to Harvard and she's going to MIT, then I think that she has a better chance of having a good experience than I did. So what? Don't let your mouth open in between words? Brian, you and we're not going to have a good relationship. I can tell it now. I don't know if you're being mean. I'm not sure. So anyway, so you really have to fit in. I mean, it really is a fit. And so I think your daughter has a better chance of fitting in than I did, just because I wasn't in any of those arenas and I didn't know anybody. So Brian's going to get blocked in just a second, because my patience is, it's late at night and my patience is running thin. Hey, Kaylin, how are you? What is my secret sauce for success? That's a great question. I think that the best thing that has served me well, oh, did you? Awesome, Freddie. I think the thing that has served me well is I've never really accepted no as an answer. And so I think a lot of people get stopped because they get a no. And I think for me, I mean, I've always known what I wanted to do. I've always been very clear about what I was good at, like where my strengths were. And I always really worked on what I considered my weaknesses. And I've never really accepted no as an answer. So I think that most people, like when I hear no, I hear not now, or I hear not with you. And so it's never like really deterred me. I never had any question about my talent. I never had any question about my value in the workplace. And so I think that you keep plugging away. And I think the other thing is that I've never been, I've never been one to look at, being pushed out of a situation or losing a situation as a loss. I've always looked at it as an opportunity to improve the situation that I was in. So just for an example, like when I was in Boston, I was on this little bit, even though Boston, and I talk in terms of radio markets, because, in radio or television, you always look at the market as opposed to the actual city. So you always want to end up in like a top 10 market. And so Boston was a top 10 market. And so I really was excited to go to Boston, but the station that I was on, it was WILD, it was an AM station, and it was a sun up to sundown station. So for anybody that doesn't really know what that is, that means literally when the sun comes up, you go on, and when the sun goes down, you go off. So it wasn't even a 24-hour station. So in terms of listenership, it was relatively limited. So I would say we were probably at maybe like 400,000, 500,000. And I really cannot honestly tell you if I was fired or if I quit, but that situation ended because it was not a good fit for me. And I was extremely, homesick, and I wanted my family. And, interestingly enough, the guy that hired me, well, I haven't assimilated because I was born in America, so I'm American with, and my parents are, so I've assimilated because I was born here. So I don't even know if you can call it assimilating. But anyway, hey Carl, how are you? And so anyway, so the guy that hired me was the only person I knew in Boston, and he got fired the day after they hired me. So then I even lost that connection. So it was just a difficult journey for me in Boston. So like I said, I don't know if I quit or if I left, but the situation ended and I was okay with that. I never try to hold on to a situation when it's not working for me. And I think that's what a lot of people do. Like they're so afraid of being unemployed, or they're afraid because they don't know what's coming next. And I've really never had that fear. I've always believed in my talent. And so I went from Boston, which was probably 400,000 people, which is a decent first job in radio. I mean, you could start, in a 110 market, and I stopped. Boston was number 10. And so that worked for me. And then I went to Chicago, which is the number 3, a number 3 in the market. New York is first, LA is second, Chicago is third. And so then I went from 400,000 listeners to 1 million listeners in Chicago. And then when that situation ended, I went to Tom in Dallas, which is still a top 10 market, but because Tom is syndicated, I went from 1 million listeners to 8 million listeners. And so, every situation that ended, whether I wanted it to or not, like, I don't know if I wanted it to end in Boston, but I don't know if it was my decision, or if I got fired. I definitely got fired in Chicago. And then I resigned and we were number 1, Carl, for many years. The station was number 1, the show was number 1, and they made a decision that didn't really necessarily make sense, and it certainly didn't last. And so then I went to Tom, and it was 8 million listeners. So I've always, every situation, when you don't hold on to it, when you release it, you will go on to a better opportunity. But we try to hold on to things because we're afraid of what we don't know or what will happen. And eventually, the longer you hold on to that situation, you will eventually get forced out. I mean, it's like, God will say, okay, enough. And he will release you whether you want to be released or not. I truly believe that. And so when we're so scared, we miss different opportunities. We miss different situations that may end up being better for us because we want to stay with what's comfortable and we want to stay with what we know. And part of my success is never wanting to be in a place that's comfortable but still not good for me. I mean, I'm always okay with leaving. Yeah, you should have followed me to Dallas. Dallas has been great. Every situation I've been in has been good. And one thing I learned early on from Elroy Smith, he was a program director. I talked about him a little bit earlier. Elroy is a phenomenal person, and he's a phenomenal leader. And even though he would irritate us with little things because he was very hands-on, and a lot of us radio personality people, we don't like the hands-on. And so... Oh, and so, there was a lot, but one thing that I learned from him is how to leave a situation even when you're forced out. And so when he left, he was actually let go of in Chicago. They made a change. And he left in such a way that it just left an impression on me forever. And even though I only really had two situations, like when I was, we were let go of in Chicago. And you want to leave in a way that you don't burn bridges, especially in an industry like radio, because radio, everybody knows everybody. And unfortunately, to get a job in radio, normally they already know who they want. And if there's things that have been said about you, like you're a diva or you're whatever difficult, and then you don't want that ever said about you. And so that was one of the biggest lessons I learned from Elroy. And I did that in Chicago and I did that in Dallas. I always want to be able to say that I've maintained relationships with the people that I worked with. And so yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, I think the biggest thing about me is, I just don't don't take no as no. I take no is not now or not with you. And then I figure out a way to get it done anyway. Oh, thank you, Mike. I think you're trying to make up with me. Nobody knows you, Carl. I know you. A lot of people. What do you mean nobody knows you? That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. And so you're well, Kaylin. You mean thanks for running my mouth for like I don't know how long, but I really do have to go. I never expected to be on this long, and I certainly didn't expect to talk about this. But you guys, like I said, I always love chatting with you and hanging out with you, and you're always so supportive. So I appreciate that. But I am going to bid you adieu. I am going to go and get done all the things that I have to get done before I go to bed. But I appreciate you and I love you and hugs. And every time I see you online, I just want to see those 3 words, I got you, so that we all feel understood and appreciated and all that good stuff. But I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow. I'm sure I'll be back on. And like I said, I appreciate you guys and I hope you have a great night. And I will talk to you soon. Good night, Raquel. You are like my buddy now. You and Elaine. I got you. And Elaine, if you bake cookies and I don't hear about them tomorrow, I'm going to be really upset. I know you can't send me any, but I want to know how good they were. So bye, you guys. I got you too. I'll talk to you guys later.